All right, so to continue on with our last video, we were sending different status messages to the browser, and we talked about what those status messages meant. So I'm going to set this one back to 200, so I'm not redirecting to this page. And we're going to use the content text, and then we're going back to plain. So what this message is telling us, text, plain. So this message is telling the browser, it's giving the browser some kind of feedback on the page that you're receiving. Here is some of the content that you're going to be receiving. We might need to tell it that you're about to receive a video, for example, or a PDF file or something along those lines. So what we're telling the browser in this particular line is the text that you're receiving, the content text that you're receiving is the text is just plain. In other words, you certainly can see that this is an object. So we've got key value pairs, the key being content text, and text dash plain. We're just sending over, we haven't sent any HTML data. All we've sent so far is just plain text. So in a little bit, you'll see us change this plain to HTML. But for now, we're going to keep this. We're just going to keep it plain, and then we'll get a little bit more fancy here pretty soon. But we also haven't been asking for a page. We've simply been sending a request, just sort of a random request to the server, and it's responded by sending back just generic text back to the browser. So let's add on to this idea. And we're going to start looking at, we're going to start parsing out now the page name that was sent from the browser, so we can deliver different content if they ask for an index page or if they ask for an about me page. So let's get that set up. Again, I'll set up a variable and I'll call it URL equals, and then we're going to require from node, library or modules, the module called URL. And that particular module will give us the ability to parse out the name, the page name. And let's see how we can do that. So let's see, where will I start here? I'll do it in the server. And here I'm going to create a path name equals to, use that variable URL that I just created. And if I hit the dot, then I have properties and methods I can choose from. And we're going to use the method parse. And the method parse receives the URL string, which is req. So that's the request from the browser, req dot. And then I should be able to have a URL property. I do. There we go. And then, so I'm getting the URL, and the URL is the whole URL, obviously, HTTP, www, or whatever, in our case, localhost 3000. But I'm going to take that and property and get out the path name. And what does that mean? Oh, I don't know. Let's console log it. Maybe that'll help us figure out what the heck we're up to. So I'm going to head and put the path name, and let's see. I'm going to save that, start my server, node index.js, run my server, bring over a browser. It should not be redirecting anymore, so localhost 3000, and let's see what happens. Got right number, there we go. Okay, so there's my hello world. I'm gonna close out this for now, and let's see what we've got going on here. So hello world returned just, not hello, this URL with no page name, also following the URL or the domain name or the IP address in this case, just returned a backslash. All right, well, let's do a backslash index. Well, can I just do index.html? Probably not. That's going to get an error. Yep, that didn't work out. So let's put in then a backslash and an index.html. And let's see what we get. That seemed to return something. So now my path name is /index.html. All right, so things are looking a little bit better here. If I wanted an about me page, HTML. Now you can see the about HTML. Okay, so now our idea is if the user puts in a page name, they probably should get the page name. And it just magically happened before But as we know in programming, nothing really magically happens. There's code behind the scenes that makes the magic happen, right? So let us add to our logic here in our create server. So now instead of just sending this random message back, let's pay attention to, let's parse out that path name, and we'll send a page accordingly. So I'm going to do an if statement. Hopefully you're familiar with an if statement by now. I'm going to do a triple equals, and then if it's just the backslash, we saw that backslash here. And the triple equals, if you haven't been familiar with it already, triple equals says not only should these two conditions be the same, but they also need to be of the string type. So they both should be a string that has this slash, as opposed to, for example, a string of 3 and an integer of 3 to JavaScript, because JavaScript is loose, could equate to the same thing. But if we put this third equal sign, we're saying not only do we want it to be the same number, but also the same data type. So in our case earlier, this triple equal sign, which I put 4, I think, there we go, with this case of the string 3 and the integer 3, that would evaluate to false because those are not the same data type. So let's make sure we're getting the same data type here. And so if path name is equal to that, just that slash like we saw return earlier, I'm going to copy over this information that we got earlier, copy that or cut that. I'm going to put that in my if statement. So if the path name is equal to just the slash, let's return the status 200. And let's say that we're just going to type in that this should be the index.html. Now I'm still just sending over plain text. So I'm building up to the big finale where we actually send over the HTML page. But for now, let's just send over text to indicate that we are recognizing different path names. And let's do else. Maybe I'll copy this in. And this time we'll say else. Let's do an else if path name is equal to slash. Remember, it comes over with a slash. Let's do the about.html. Okay. Else if path name is equal to, okay, why am I getting a squiggly line here? Else if, that's not the same word. Okay, there we go. Else if path name is equal to about.html, let's send over about.html, and then we'll do an else. Else if they request any other page, how about if we send over a 404 error message? And then this time we might say page not found. Create our own 404. All right, so if this works the way I anticipate it to, if the user types in just localhost 3000, then we should get a response code of 200 and index.html should be displayed on the browser page. If we did about.html, then we should see about.html, and if anything else is displayed, we're going to get that 404. So let's Control C, and we're going to restart it. Excuse me. Let's see. So here we have about.html. Let's refresh that and see what happens. And sure enough, there's our about. Let's not put in a page. And we got index.html, which is what we expected. And if I put anything else like fred.html, page not found. So now we're starting to parse out the URL that's being requested, getting the page name, and responding accordingly to that page name.